Data from the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) show that it allocated $1.87 billion for food imports in the first 9 months of the year 2024. This is equivalent to a 14% rise in FX releases to that sector alone. With a national policy on agriculture that aims to attain sufficiency in food production and bring down imports, is it working? We shall be answering this question and so many others in the course of the program. This episode is focused on attaining food sufficiency by making the most of agricultural opportunities. My name is Leah today. Happy Eid al-Fitr. We begin as always from the trends table. The federal government says it has taken steps to restructure its policy landscape, close noticeable gaps and hold policy overlaps and somersaults as part of renewed efforts to develop a more structured, efficient and responsive governance architecture. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF, Senator George Akume stated this at a stakeholders validation session on the draft National Policy Development and Management Framework held at the State House Conference Center in the Presidential Villa put together by the Office of the Special Advisor to the President on Policy Coordination and Head Central Results Delivery and Coordination Unit. Hadiza Bala Usman, Special Advisor to the President on Policy and Coordination, noted that policy making is central to governance and that the administration is actively addressing long-standing gaps within the policy ecosystem. She identified such gaps to include policy inconsistency, inadequate clarity around policy formulation and implementation processes, as well as the absence of a unified standard across government institutions. The National Pension Commission (PENCOM) has launched a new pension contribution remittance system, a platform designed to optimize the process of remitting pension contributions into employees' retirement savings accounts (RSAs). Developed in collaboration with the Pension Operators Association of Nigeria (PENOP), PENCOM in a statement disclosed that the approved payment solution service providers would enhance accuracy, efficiency and transparency in pension contributions. The Commission said the introduction of the pension contribution remittance system is a response to the challenges frequently encountered by employers, including errors in contribution schedules and verification delays. The Ministry of Finance has announced a strategic collaboration with the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development (OECD) to address illicit financial flows and strengthen Nigeria's economic framework. This partnership was formalized during a courtesy visit by Carlos Conde, head of the Middle East and Africa Division at OECD, to Wale Edun, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. A statement shared on the ministry's X account disclosed that the OECD emphasized its growing engagement in Africa through partnerships with the African Union, regional blocs, and direct country-level initiatives. Nigeria was identified as a key partner in West Africa, with discussions focusing on economic priorities such as capital market development, regional integration, sustainable finance, and investment in human capital. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) this week rearranged a former National Security Advisor, retired Colonel Sambo Dasuki, and 3 others over alleged 33.2 billion naira fraud in an Abuja High Court. Dasuki was arraigned alongside the former General Manager of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC), Aminu Baba Kusa, along with 2 companies, Acacia Holdings Limited and Reliance Referral Hospital Limited. The fresh arraignment before Justice Charles Agbaza followed the reassignment of the case by the FCT Chief Judge, Justice Hussein Baba Yusuf, who previously handled the matter. The African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, has broke ground on its first ever state-of-the-art Afreximbank African Trade Center (AATC) in the Caribbean, marking a pivotal moment for trade relations between Africa and the CARICOM region. The bank in a statement described the $180 million Barbados AATC, the first to be established outside Africa, as an authentic icon of trade embodying the ambition, resilience and influence of leading commercial cities in Africa and the Caribbean that serve as dynamic focal points for commerce, fostering regional and global trade connections. It is expected to enhance intra and extra-African trade, with a focus on countries of the Global South through Afreximbank's Global Africa Initiative. to facilitate the construction of the iconic AATC in its capital, Bridgetown. The government of Barbados granted Afreximbank 6.4 acres of land, and upon completion, it will house Afreximbank's CARICOM office, a conference facility, a technology and SME incubator, a digital trade gateway, 100-room hotel, and a trade and exhibition center, as well as office spaces for local, regional, and international financial and policy organizations. And next is our policy conversation on self-sufficiency and value addition in agriculture. Nigeria's agricultural policy aims at the attainment of self-sustaining growth in all the subsectors of agriculture and the structural transformation necessary for the overall socio-economic development of the country, as well as the improvement in the quality of life of Nigerians. For starters, the country is still importing food. So how can Nigeria attain self-sufficiency in food first before others? I have joining me for this conversation Dr. Steve Olusegun Ogidan, MNI. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Success3 Nigeria Limited. He is a development planner, trainer, and strategist with core competence and experience in institutional development, business strategy, value chain development, rural development, and microfinance. This is just a whole lot.
Thank you.
Nice to have you come on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. So attaining self-sufficiency in basic food commodities, a core objective of the National Agri Policy, but we're still importing food, basic food, rice, maize. Why?
Thank you very much. You see, attaining food security is a major concern of government all over the world, not only in Nigeria. But our situation has been aggravated by quite a number of issues in recent times. Number one is the issue of climate change. Number two is the disruption of food supply. And number three is the question of insecurity. Between 2021 and 2024, Nigeria graduated from 97 position to 109 when you look at the global hunger index. The implication is that our food situation is alarming. We're graduated from being serious to being alarming, meaning that if nothing is done, it's going to become a crisis point. We are still importing food because the farmers cannot go to the farm. As they will say, going to the farm is not the problem, coming back from the farm. Banditry has driven the farmers away. Then we have aging population of farmers. There are no young farmers, and the old farmers are dying. With all this disruption, with the Russia-Ukraine war, with COVID-19, these are the serious issues that have affected our agricultural problem. Substantial part of the fertilizer Nigerians are using before the Russia-Ukraine war, they were coming from Ukraine. Then Ukraine was unable to produce because of the war, and we don't have enough fertilizer. When you put all these things together, you discover that this is why we still continue to import food. And unfortunately, importation of food is destroying our agricultural base because farmers are getting discouraged, and then the food we are importing are substandard, and they are not of good quality for consumption.
Okay, I'm glad you're already talking about the implications of this food imports, and especially those things that we produce locally. We've seen maize, rice, and a number of those things that we produce, and the broader economy, of course. What are the implications for the foreign exchange demand market?
You see, we cannot produce enough because the farmers lack access to credit. Affordable credit to farmers will have made the farmer to be able to produce more. Appropriate technology and climate-friendly irrigation could have made the farmer to produce more. Now that we are using our limited foreign exchange to import food, it's putting unnecessary pressure on our foreign exchange, and it's leading to the devaluation of the naira. If we continue to import, we will continue to have a higher demand for foreign exchange, and then the scarcity of foreign exchange will make our naira to continue to fall. So if we want naira to be strong, we must produce what we eat. The farmers must be encouraged, and we must secure the farmland, and we must be able to introduce appropriate technology to be able to drive food production in Nigeria.
Okay, for a country like Nigeria with 200 million approximately the population, and when you're importing food and you have a number of farmers with vast arable land lying fallow, can we continue on this path?
We cannot continue on this path because no nation can continue to import food when the people are jobless. If we produce food, if we process the food, we are creating employment, we are saving our foreign exchange, and we are making our currency to appreciate. So if we want the currency to appreciate and we want to save the scarce foreign exchange, we must be able to produce food locally. Not only producing for ourselves, we must be able to export. Nigeria is the largest market in West African sub-region, and we must be able to produce and feed our neighbors. If we do that, we'll be able to earn more foreign exchange.
It would seem like Nigeria is allergic to technology from some of those examples you cited earlier, because basically, how can you explain that we're in 2025, we're still using hoe and cutlass to farm food? Can we ever attain food sufficiency with these kinds of practices?
You see, using that method, we cannot attain food sufficiency. It's not that we are allergic to change. There are some impetus to change that we need to drive. Access to finance is one of them. Appropriate and farm-gate technology to process the food is part of them. Energy security is part of it. There are some of these infrastructural deficits that we have that cannot make our agriculture to be competitive. If we still keep on using those and cutlasses, when people are using tractors and appropriate technology in other locations, climate smart irrigation system, if we do all those things, we'll be able to produce more. As of today, many parts of Nigeria are still doing rain-fed agriculture, meaning that you can only produce once in a year. And when you produce once in a year, and with climate change, the rain is not coming at the right time, you cannot predict it, and we lack predictive technology to be able to manage the weather in such a way that we'll be able to produce. In other countries like Egypt, farmers produce 3 times in a year because with irrigation, you can predict when you will water your farm. You can predict when you are going to plant. You can predict when you are going to harvest. Sometimes farmers will plant in Nigeria, the rain will stop. And when the rain stops, then the crop will not germinate. So all those things, we need to look at it and then move away from subsistence agriculture and go to mechanized agriculture. And these are activities that not the federal government should do, subnational government, the local government. They own the land, they own the youth. I don't see any reason in Nigeria where at least 2/3 of the local governments in Nigeria will not have a minimum of 5,000 hectares of farmland and produce food for their people. This is easy way to create employment, to have food security and earn foreign exchange. See what is happening in Niger. Niger state government is doing fantastically well. And you see, when you look at any government, you want to look at their priorities, look at their budget. The budget of Niger state in agriculture is more than the entire budget of agriculture for the entire southern Nigeria, all the states put together. It shows that the government is serious, the government is focused, and is producing food and they are exporting. The same thing is happening in Borno State, where the governor has done a lot of work in instituting irrigation. And when they put irrigation infrastructure on the land, it makes it easier for the farmers to farm. We need to look beyond what we are currently doing. Encourage the young farmers to come to the farm, use appropriate technology, deploy technology, farm-gate technology to even add value to the produce and continue to produce. It's not difficult.
I agree. It's not difficult, but there's the wherewithal to do that. And you already started talking about the value chain, and I'm glad you've gone there already. And that is now I'm talking of cash crops. I mean, we're still exporting cash crops in their volumes, large quantities, unprocessed at all, and then we end up importing them. Are we not exporting jobs?
We are exporting job by not processing our cash crop. No matter any crop that you produce that you don't process, you are exporting job to those countries and you pay more for it. You produce coffee, we produce cocoa, and we don't process and we send it to them. They will process it and come and sell it back to us. So we need to be able to have farm-gate technology that we had minimal processing to this product so that we can add more value. But again, you can't do this without energy security. Electricity is very expensive. I don't know of any factory in Nigeria today that is not running on alternative energy, electric generators, and diesel is very expensive. So government must be able to support the industries with appropriate energy so that their cost of production will not be too much for them to bear.
Okay. Now, looking at the linkages as well, you'll find that some of these crops that we produce, that we see them as food, they also have other uses. Yes. And you see, for instance, in the pharmaceuticals, most of the active ingredients, you see that particularly maize, cassava, that some years back we thought we had done a revolution that
Yes.
will produce massively, but we're back to where we don't even get to see that we produce that which will satisfy the country itself. So, I mean, why is it expedient that these crops we get to have them produced massively, locally, to support other industries and sectors that are linked to agriculture?
Apart from food,
Yeah.
industrial and pharmaceutical industries use cassava, they use maize, they use starch, they use wheat. Yeah. And for us to be able to produce massively, security for the farmland is number one. Because the farmers will not plant and they won't even go to the farm if they are not sure that they will come back from the farm. And a whole lot of conflict that have driven the farmers out of the farm must be addressed. The farmer-header clashes. Interestingly, the government has set up the Ministry of Livestock Development. It is the hope of everybody that the ministry will be able to address the issue of farmer clashes and secure the farmland so that we'll be able to produce more. We have the population, we have the labor force, we have the land. With a little technology and irrigation system, we must be able to produce massively for all these industries.
You've already pointed out some of those things that the subnationals will have to do. And you've also pointed out some of those things that individual companies are doing themselves, particularly when you talk of power supply. And I know, of course, there are some industries too that have gone the extra mile to have their security somehow contracted to be able to keep their industry running. At what point, how much further can these companies go or these businesses go without government?
You see, the factories and the industries, they can hire security. The peasant farmer cannot hire security. We need to deepen the activities of agro rangers of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. The local government needs to employ more youth and use them as vigilante to be able to protect the farmers when they go to their farm. If the farmland is secured, if the state and local government are able to put irrigation infrastructure in place, we'll be able to produce more food massively. We'll be able to feed our people and we'll be able to get foreign exchange.
I would like to hear from you. You've given examples of two states, Niger State, Borno State. These are states that I also hold dearly because I see and I read what they do, and I've been very intentional about it. So people like you who have been there, have seen it and done it, what kinds of conversation are you having with those who make these policies across board?
You see, we've been working with subnational government in building the capacity of their young school leavers to be able to take agriculture as a vocation. It is those states where trainings have been going on, like in Jigawa, like in Niger, like in Borno, like in Kano. That is where you see conscious attempts to encourage young farmers to come to farm. My advice is that subnational government should be able to do more, to be able to train their youth, to be able to have agricultural settlement like what is happening in Oyo State, where the government will prepare the land. A major cost of agriculture massively is land preparation.
Clearing.
And land clearing. So they need to clear the land for them. They need to put irrigation infrastructure. The experiment that we saw in Niger and we saw in Katsina and Borno, an average youth can move out of poverty within 2 harvest cycles, and they can become millionaires if they are able to plant maize in an average of 3 hectares 3 times in a year. You have seen it during the Anchor Borrower program in Kebbi. The largest amount of people that went to Hajj during the harvest, during the anchor borrower, they are from Kebbi State. And it is because they were able to produce rice. So we need to secure the farmland, and we need to encourage the people to go back to land, and they must be assured guaranteed prices for their produce.
Can we repeat what happened in Kebbi with the rice revolution?
It is possible. It's just the commitment. You see, Nigeria is a signatory to Maputo Declaration and Malabo Declaration. And those two declarations said that we must budget at least 10% of our annual budget to agriculture. In the last 5 years, Nigeria has been budgeting less than 2% for agriculture. Oh. The 2024 budget, less than 2% was for agriculture. So where you put your money is your priority. We must be able to put more money in agriculture, and we must be able to secure the farmland.
You've just cited an example now, and I would want to hold you on that. Nigeria is fond of signing agreements, declarations, and what have you, and we don't come back to domesticate them. How does this affect agriculture in a country like Nigeria? 200 million people.
Yes, the Malabo and Maputo Declaration are parts of it. We have already signed this agreement, but we are not domestic. We domesticated, but we are not implementing. There should be a conscious attempt by the people to demand from the government and say, this is where we want you to put priorities. The National Assembly members must be able to go back to their constituencies and ask them, what do we want? And they will be able to tell them that we want improvement in our agricultural production. We want security for farmland, and we want input to be able to do better. Strengthening the export infrastructure, strengthening the production infrastructure, and strengthening the packaging infrastructure can revolutionize our agriculture within a very short period of time. Some countries have done it, and we can do it also here. With the work we did in Angola in encouraging young farmers, what the government of Angola did was to take over the land preparation and mechanization. And that activity was given to the retired generals. So they prepare the land, the youth work on the land, and then within 4 or 5 harvest cycles, they are able to make enough money to cover the cost of land preparation.
Can we do that here?
We can do it here because the land is there, the government is there, we have resources. Even private sector funding can come into it, but we need focused leadership to be able to do it at subnational level.
I must sincerely thank you, sir, for making time out for these conversations and for, of course, throwing light into this very topical issue.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
The policy with Leah quite certainly is a show to turn to when it comes to policymakers' desire to monitor and respond to challenges within the capital markets ecosystem and the economy in general. I am Sterling Ellis, a duly qualified capital markets professional in Nigeria, in the United Kingdom, and in the United States of America. Enjoy the policy with Leah.
Our education segment, Simplified, comes up shortly, and after that, we take you to the commodities markets. We wrap up on that note, but don't forget that for market rates and more, you can log on to our sister website. It is www.marketnigeriatv.com. We have all the details there for you. And of course, every other episode, and this one is available on YouTube on our channel. It is at Saban Media Services. We value your feedback, so send in your questions, comments, and suggestions to help us serve you better. Until we come your way again, same time next week, don't forget that the duty of building a working Nigeria lies in the hands of all citizens. So play your part. Enjoy the rest of the Sunday celebration, and God bless Nigeria.